Welcome everybody to the Hodl My Beer show. I'm super pumped today. I have Staci on. A lot of you guys on the, on X know who she is. She just started up the Bitcoin Nova Pod. How long ago, Staci?
I think my first upload was like 2 weeks ago.
Perfect. Yeah. So
Mhm.
she kicked it off 2 weeks ago. So already you just passed what 200 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah. hmm
So she's doing it right. She's probably going to teach me a thing or two about launching a podcast today. So I'm
You're
excited to have
doing.
her on here. So first and foremost, guys, like you know if you've heard the show before, I don't have any sponsors on here. The only thing that I ask is that you go to opensats.org if you have a few sats laying around and help the guys over there that own OpenSats, that are Bitcoiners. They're funding open source development and a lot of people in the space that are working on the things that Bitcoin needs, right? Layer twos to help peer-to-peer transactions, kind of become more fluid. They're working on different projects in South America, different projects in the Caribbean, Africa. There's all kinds of good stuff on there. So, that's first and foremost. Staci, I want to get into kind of your story right away, and then we are going to talk a bunch about the podcast because I think you've done a really good job with that. So, and then we'll talk based off of the X poll I ran the other day. You guys want to hear a lot about the macro Bitcoin environment. I try not to do too much number go up tech, as me and Staci started before or talked about before we started recording. But I think there is a case to kind of set, what's the word I'm looking for here? Explain to people why we're at where we're at in the macro environment, if you are paying attention to price. So, Staci, first and foremost, when did you get into Bitcoin? What was kind of the catalyst for you? And more importantly than even when, like what brought you to it?
Um, so it was during the last cycle, the beginning of the last cycle, and that would be in 2020. And what brought me to it? It's really I had a cousin that I knew that would talk about it all the time, and I feel like he would talk about it to his whole family, and nobody really paid attention. He was just like that crazy guy talking about
I
Bitcoin that
had I
nobody
had a cousin that brought it to me too, so
did
I
you.
get, I get it. Yeah, yeah. Go
So
ahead.
yeah, he was explaining to me, and I just kind of didn't pay attention until we started like getting stimulus checks. And I started to wonder, and some of the things he was telling me just started to like be in the back of my mind about, how your savings account gets depleted every time money is printed. And I started to look into, how much like can we keep getting these checks? How many checks will they hand out to people? Like, and then I started finding out that the money printer is unlimited and infinite. So that just made me feel like our savings could be depleted infinitely. And I started to just worry, about my kid's future. When people talk about, your kid, your house, has appreciated in value, I'm like, that's great, but what are they ever going to be able to afford when
Yep.
they grow up? So it's like a really scary thought to think like, how am I going to get ahead? How am I going to help them? So it kind of was like all the advice or all the talking that he would do. I just actually turned around and asked him, all right, now I really want to talk to you about this. Like, can you actually like
Yeah.
tell me where I'm listening? I want to. So he told me, he like showed me the door, and I just kind of like, head first ran straight through the door. Like he's like, I was the only person that he's been talking to that really took it to the point where I went down the rabbit hole kind of. And I am grateful to him for it, So, but yeah, I definitely couldn't get enough. I just wanted to learn everything there was to know about Bitcoin, and X was a big place that I spent a lot of my time since then, just like learning from a lot of big accounts, watching a lot of podcasts. The big, like Michael Saylor was a huge one. I feel like I started to learn about Bitcoin at the same time as like Saylor started to understand it and explain it to people. So it felt like I went along the journey with him and with like learning about like hearing Jeff Booth and all the big names that teach us about Bitcoin. There's a lot of them, and I spent a lot of time and hours on it, and I'm grateful, and I just feel like it was a really uh, long journey, but it's a great journey. Like I feel like Bitcoin has so many parts of our lives that it touches that it's like that's why
Yep.
you keep wanting to learn.
Yeah. No, I think the point that you brought up, and a lot of us feel this way, is that you almost like saw the problem and then approached it from the problem. You know what I mean? Like you saw
Mhm.
the money being printed, you saw You know, the home price affordability kind of becoming out of reach for the next generation. You know, which I don't have any kids yet, but that's definitely on the horizon very soon.
Mhm.
And when you approach it from the problem, you kind of go through this this journey of like, oh shit, like things are kind of fucked up. Like, how do we fix this? And then you're like, oh wait, that's right. You know, my quote unquote crazy cousin told me about Bitcoin. Like, this fixes all of these issues, which I think is super important. So you kind of go through like the 2020 cycle. Obviously, you're active on X. I want to talk about the podcast that you launched. Uh, what it's so cool for me to see, and I'm just going to nerd out for a moment because I remember 6 weeks ago, me and you having a conversation on Twitter, like both thinking about starting the podcast, and like
Mhm.
now, obviously, this one has come to fruition, but yours has done really, really well too. What was like the catalyst for that? Did you ever do anything like in between 2020 and like the time of starting your podcast? Were you just contributing on Twitter? Like, what
Um,
were you
yeah,
doing anything
so
else?
I mainly was during that time. I feel like it was a really rough time. And I'm so like I do remember back 6 weeks ago when we were both talking about it. I'm so proud of you for doing this, and I'm just like really excited that we're both. I hope there's others, but it's like me and you are just kind of leading the army at the moment. So it's really cool to see. I'm so excited, and but yeah, leading like what happened to me since then was. It was a tough time. It was a tough time going through understanding Bitcoin. Actually, just finding out about crypto was like what started it. So of course, like I felt like I got sucked into that, I didn't fully understand Bitcoin. So I thought what other crypto was going to be a good
Yeah.
one? Like which other ones are the project that I should look into? And I became really obsessed, and it was very a very crazy time. So I was like going through this roller coaster of the market, because we went through that
Yeah.
whole entire hype, then we had the crash. Then I really learned, and I'm sorry if you guys could hear the thunderstorm outside. I don't know if it'll
No,
bother
it's
you.
fine. It's a nice little
Yeah.
ambiance. I'm not sure if you guys are listening to the podcast after it's been recorded. I have something on here to cut out
Mm.
background noise. I don't know if it
Yeah.
works. Otherwise,
Yeah.
enjoy the peaceful thunder and rain outside. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
So I just I felt like I was just it was a lot of pain because you go through like, buying at the tops of all these other coins, but I felt like I was so into the trading aspect of it at the time, and I was obsessed with charts. So I did start to hear and see things happening that kind of made me paranoid, which I have this,
Yeah,
the
the paranoid
privilege.
Bitcoin anarchist.
Yeah, so luckily I traded out of almost all altcoins. I only kept like teeny bits just because I was like, oh, who knows. But then I
Yep.
traded everything and I converted it straight to Bitcoin and I stayed there. And I was like, I don't know if this is smart, but as time went on, I'm like, oh, I guess it was good because those things went down further and further. And I was like, at least I didn't lose everything.
Yep.
And I was happy. Like then I realized Bitcoin is the reason why Bitcoin is the only one to really save your money in, because it's the only one that doesn't have a greedy authority behind it that can try to rug pull you. So that is definitely the up and down that I went through was a lot of emotional roller coaster. It was a lot of, am I doing the right thing? So it was crazy, but I was gaming during the time. I was like really big
Yep.
into gaming. Me and my husband were playing, and that was like good for our sanity because during all this chaos, we were just like playing a lot of video games. So I got used to like doing a lot of my editing because I would take funny clips from our games and I would try to edit them and just for fun, just
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was very entertaining to me, and I just had a lot of fun with it. So going forward, then I just like I was always posting on X about Bitcoin, just any news I saw about it, like anything
Yep.
happening with the macroeconomic landscape, all that stuff, like global whatever finance. And then I was not ever getting anyone to see my stuff, and I didn't care. It was like my own journal of my thoughts, sort of.
Yep.
But it wasn't until recently, and actually, I really am thankful for the Bitcoin therapist for posting it because that's how it started for me back in December when I saw him post his earnings on X. And it wasn't just about like, oh, let's make money, but it was like he said, why doesn't everyone just this speculative attack against like from all the littler people that want to just stack more sats? It's like we can just all try to support each other and monetize. He's like, look what I'm making just from, he goes, I've never posted what I make, but this is my earnings. And so that actually was like eye-opening because I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that's true. We're all doing this. Why don't we support each other? So someone created this verified Bitcoiners page, and
Yep.
that's where it started for me. So I started following some accounts, and I saw a lot of interesting thoughts and really cool perspectives that wasn't the whole, the typical like large account, because you kind of feel like it's like over and over. Sometimes you scroll Twitter and you see the same thing 85
Yep.
times because everyone's posting the same news. So when I started to see these small accounts, I'm like, these people are so interesting. This is great. So I actually gave them my time and attention, and I was either reposting or commenting, and people appreciated it and they were doing it back to me. And we started to get this whole little group of friends. So then that's when I decided to create the Paranoid Bitcoin Anarchists community and invited everyone along over there. And then we just had like the Bitcoin army and like all of our friends just were like, hey, we
S-
have these ideas for groups and
Yep.
we want to start this whole big family. So it really,
Smash by Saturdays is another big one too.
yes, yes. And
Yep.
it's such a great, because from a little idea, you could think, oh, let's just like tell each other when because we don't care, we're just going to keep buying whatever the price, just to give people, like you said, like little people or new people to the space that just wonder about price. It's like, we don't care. We're maxis. We're just going to keep buying when we make money or proof of work goes into Bitcoin, we're going to save
Yep.
it. And we're just, doesn't matter the price. And it's actually great because now that we're at the beginning of this cycle, I think, but it's supportive to people that are newer to this space because everyone does get freaked out when they're like, oh no, I bought high, now it's dropping. Should I sell? But they see a whole community of people just buying more. So it's like, no, we're not selling. We're just going to keep saving in it. And this is dollar cost averaging and we're not afraid, So it's like
Yep.
it teaches people something. It teaches new people something that like, look, it's not because you're bragging that you just bought Bitcoin. You're just putting a little money aside whenever you can. It doesn't matter what it is. So I feel like starting those groups was super, super special. It really felt like a lot of my editing skills from gaming went into. I wanted to kind of like showcase a couple profiles, so I put together some fun videos, and people
Well, I love your promo videos, like
thank you,
the one you just put out with like your upcoming guests coming on,
thank you.
where like they're hilarious, like they're
Yeah,
just great. They're like over the top, but like in
yeah.
the best way, in the best way.
I am, and
So
that's just who I am because I'm kind of like over the top always. Like I always go like too far. Like I'm just like
oh,
I'm the
yeah, yeah. I'm
so.
the same. I'm the same exact way.
Mhm.
So I appreciate that. I do want. So like you brought up a few interesting points. Like I think the small kind of, I don't know if people thought this when the first conversation went on about like supporting smaller accounts, but like the echo chamber of bigger accounts does exist, of just like people parroting whatever narrative is like popular to do at the time, and it's just like that in any in any echo chamber, whether it's the conservative one or the liberal one or the Bitcoin one or this or that, right? And I think that the smaller accounts on X, if you guys are listening to this and if you're on X and you're trying to build up the following and like, you're wondering how to do it, I don't think you should be controversial just for the sake of being controversial, but I think you should have your own spins on what's happening and like how you perceive it, because that's what I noticed from a lot of like the niche Twitter community, X community, is like there's a lot of people with a lot of really good perspectives that maybe that if we were all living in the echo chamber of just reposting and repurposing what someone massive that has a huge following said, it would be a detriment to the community, right? So I think that's super important. So you obviously you get really active in December. What was the um, what was the turning point for you of being like, hey, I really want to go out and like, I'm not going to say do it big because I don't know what your goals with the podcast are. I mean, it's been pretty big so far, so shout out to you
Thank
again
you.
for all that. But what was the turning point for you of like, hey, fuck this, I'm just gonna release a podcast.
So I think it was a few things that kind of all came together at the same time. It was never something I expected to do. I never wanted to be a podcaster. Like my husband, would mention sometimes like, oh, it'd be fun, and he still wants to do it. He wants to create a like a reaction video channel for our kids because our kids with our kids
Yeah.
because he always thought that'd be fun to do, and our kids are really like talkative and animated, so it'd be like a really cool thing. And I was always like, yeah, you guys go ahead and do that. I'll just be over here. I don't want to be on camera. Like
Yeah.
I'm good. So it's not something I wanted to really put myself out there and do, but when I it was with his support, it was because he knows how passionate I am about it and how much time I put into it. And the kind of way that the reason I called the channel the Bitcoin Nova was because of him. Because actually, he, like we've talked about that before, how when I explain Bitcoin to people, they have like this supernova kind of experience. Like their head is
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I finally get it. So I kind of have a way of talking to people about it that don't understand it in a regular person sort of a way where they're just like, now it clicked. So I
Yep.
feel like that's why he's like, you should call it that because that's just kind of who you are. So that was like his input on it, but he also encouraged me because when I had my first, so once I started building this community, I had Paula Iverson reach out to me from
Yep.
the Bitcoin Edge, and I'm going to be speaking to her soon too, and I'm excited because she was the catalyst. I feel like
Got
she
it.
was like, so she reached out to me, asked me to do a podcast, and I was like, what is this is crazy. Like, should I do this? And my husband's like, yeah, for sure. And I was terrified because he's like, if you know enough about, if you're passionate about something, like you'll find any like stuff to talk about. You won't run out of
Yep.
things. So I'm like, okay, you're right. I put myself out there, but not really because it was for me. I did it because the whole point of starting these communities and connecting with each other, yeah, it started off as monetization, but it was also like, wow, I really like your thoughts and your ideas, and you guys aren't in this echo chamber, and you guys are having these unique perspectives. And I was thinking that I'm supposed to be this leader of a community who talks about I'm so like fearless, and I'm so I don't care what you say. I'm Bitcoin only. I'm like not gonna fall for your BS if it's some kind of like scam.
Yep.
And I'm like this fearless leader kind of a person. And if somebody asks me to be on a podcast, what kind of example do I set? If I say, no, I'm terrified, I'm not gonna do it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say no. So I'm like, I guess it was like because I felt like I had to for the community to show that I'm not scared. If this is who I'm telling you that I am, which I do feel like I am in real life. Like I feel like Bitcoin has hardened me. It's made me feel like I'm this tough person. But like, why is a podcast going to scare me then at that point? So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it. And it was because of my husband, and it was because of the I wanted to be a leader. I wanted to actually show people that they could do it. That they don't have to be scared, and everyone has so many interesting things to say. And I didn't think I would sound good talking about Bitcoin, but people are enjoying it. So I'm like, they would enjoy you too. And I want to hear from more people just like you do. So I thought it's like an empowering kind of thing more. That's the reason why. And I'm really enjoying it, just like I'm sure like you are, like talking
Yeah.
about Bitcoiners is like this is our dream. Like in real life, we go around trying to talk about it and nobody understands us, and we
Oh
don't
yeah, my
have
girlfriend is pumped that I have a podcast. Now
yeah.
that I now I don't have to tell her what's going on with it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's like they want to hear it, but they're also like, okay, thank you. I do want to hear about your day. I want to hear what's going on, but it's like a lot of information. Like they're
Yeah.
just kind of like, I
Yeah.
need a break.
No, that's awesome.
Mm.
So you talked about too, when you're passionate about things. I think that like when you're passionate about something, it's easy to talk about. And I think my biggest like oh shit or aha moment on the podcast was just realizing like, hey, I don't really need to like have a full script of like how this episode's gonna go. It's just like it's again what we talked about before we came on, and started recording, which is just, you know, it's just a conversation, and there's a million different ways that you can take this thing. And I think that, if you understand it, it's an easy thing to talk about for whatever, 45 minutes or an hour or whatever it might be. The other thing is, so you go on this podcast. I'm assuming when you went on Paula's podcast, you just enjoyed the shit out of it, and you were like, I really want to do this more. Is that?
Yeah, well, so I did hers, and I felt like after I watched it back, I was like, okay, I didn't sound bad. It was fine. It was good. It was like
Yeah.
I wasn't I thought I'd be embarrassed like sharing it with people. I'm like, oh no, this is going to be a
Yeah.
scary moment. but it was good. And I was like, okay, people do like it. And I got so much positive feedback about it, and people were proud of me for doing it. So I'm like, okay, I actually feel like I did a good job. People liked it. And then I was asked to be on Robin Sayers' podcast, so I did his. And I did his even though, and I felt like I had that confidence because of Paula's, but I was getting over a flu at the time, so I wasn't feeling
Yeah.
the greatest, and I still did it. I was just barely just over it, and it was still good. I feel like it came out really great. Like I had a great talk with him. I want to talk to him again because we had a really great conversation. And I'm like, it felt natural. So I think, and the reason it feels natural, like I don't know how your real life, like what your job is or if you've always been a social person, but like for me, working in the salon, I talk to people all day. So this feels like a perfect transition. It feels very
Yep.
seamless because I'm already used to just having conversations and I don't like that much structure. I like to have, yes, some talking points, but I want it to just feel like how we talk at my salon, just like everyone's just, it's kind of like a barbershop feel. Like we don't have these
Yeah,
separate,
exactly. Yep.
it's like everyone's just talking and that's what I like.
So I don't know if I'm going to be putting you on the spot here, but you also said that um, it came like talking to people that are not into Bitcoin. It comes very naturally for you and people like understand it.
Mm,
Um, I think that that's a huge thing to highlight because a lot of people on Twitter and a lot of people probably listening to this are like, fuck, like I get it, but I want, like, how do I help other people get it? Do you have any like tips or kind of talking points on how you meet people where they're at when
yeah.
you're talking to them about Bitcoin?
Yeah, so I think that listening is really important. When you sound like you're just the only one talking, it sounds like they're just feel like you're attacking them and you're telling them why
Yep.
they should do something. So you really shouldn't feel like you're getting aggressive about it or like, I just found this out, you need to listen to me. Because
Yep.
it's like, yeah, you might feel very excited, but they're like, okay, back up a little bit. This is like, it's a lot to take in. You have to remember back when you found out about it. Just like when I found out about it, I always try to remember that when my cousin was telling me about it, it didn't click for me until I was ready for it. So even though he told me about it, it wasn't sinking in and I totally understand it now. But it had to take something that made it click. Like it took what was going on in the world. So I think you have to kind of people's eyes about what's happening with like what is money? The question, what is money? That's why
Yeah.
Robert Breed loves podcast is like the perfect. I think that's the name of his.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
Yep.
but it's like the most important question because people don't ask what money really is. And that's where the root of this starts. That's where the seeds of planting like the orange pill
Yep.
seeds. Like so you have to kind of like when I talk to people about it, it's mainly it's an easy startup of the conversation because we start talking about grocery prices or how expensive things have gotten in the world or if they do talk about the price of housing, I say like, oh yeah, it's not really like your house is worth more, it's your dollar's worth less, so you just kind of
Yep.
like plant those little seeds and just say, and they're like, oh wow, you know a lot about this stuff. Why is that? I'm like, oh, because I realized that there's a lot of government theft that goes on. There's a lot of government printing and the people at the top end of, you just start talking about why money is what it is and
Yep.
how your time is being taken from you. It's the time you're spending working is able to buy less every day for your time spent working. So it's just these things resonate with people. Like those are the things that really you don't just start saying Bitcoin is the answer. You need to get Bitcoin. You have to start off with why money is the problem. What is wrong with money? And
I,
what's
I,
the answer and how
yep.
is Bitcoin different?
Yeah, and to that point, and from like the conversations and from us talking on Twitter, I think you have like a keen interest in people,
Mhm.
which is why it comes naturally for you. Because usually, if you have a keen interest, you're a good listener in what people are going through, and I think that's a huge part of it too. For the people listening here is like you have to know how Bitcoin fits into their life. There's
Mhm.
a million different use cases for it. We've talked about a few episodes back. I was highlighting the issues in Africa, how it's helping Latin America with remittances and not having their money inflated away. Like that's not going to be the talking point for somebody
Yeah.
that's in America who can't afford groceries anymore, right? Or they can't afford to buy a house. Like for my generation, right? I'm 31, so a lot of my friends and family, that are my age are like they're going through all of this. Like they're trying to start a family, they're trying to buy a house, right? Like, and they're wondering why it's not going to be possible. That's usually how Bitcoin comes into the picture with the people that are close to me. So I think that that's a really important point. Like you said, it's what is money. But even to take a step further, it's like, okay, how does this apply to their lives, right? Like, what are they going through that would make them have their kind of Stacy moment of going down the rabbit hole? And it's, I guess that's all,
But I think
that,
I
go
think what
ahead.
you were saying about how to be a keen person on listening to, like, knowing who you're talking to and knowing the type of struggles they're facing. I have two examples recently. One is a young girl. She just finished college and she just started to work. And I feel like a lot of these young people, they either choose just not to work at all because they feel like they'd rather just live at home with their parents and just maybe do little side jobs or some kind of like, because they're like, if I work and move out and get my own apartment or something, I can't even afford an apartment unless I live with two other people,
Yep.
and I can't barely get by even if I work my butt off. Like, these young people these days, they have an apartment, they have a full-time job, they're trying to go to school part-time, whatever their situation is, and they could barely, with two other roommates, and have any money to go out and have fun later or go buy
Yep.
clothes or something cute, to wear to go out. They're like, I just don't have any extra cash. So it's like these people aren't even enjoying their young day. Like, I remember, at least when I was in my younger age, like at 20s, I felt like I had money. I felt like I was like the money I worked for. I was like, oh, I can spend it. I was
Yep.
careless about it because I felt like I had a lot. And then as time goes on, you feel like you're strangling, like you're getting more strangled. So this lady I was talking to this past week, she was actually one of my clients. And sometimes the people you really think they won't want to hear about Bitcoin, I'm not even going to get into it. She somehow we got on the topic of, like, the same type of stuff, like money, and she has like a juicing business. Like, she makes juices and she tries to
Yeah.
sell them. And she was just saying that we started talking about how, inflation, and she's like, and then I mentioned my podcast, and she's like, what is it about? I'm like, well, Bitcoin, but Bitcoin kind of has so many broader, like, we talk about everything that, and she's like,
Yeah.
oh, what is this thing? So I started telling her a little bit about it, and she's like, started just really venting to me about how, like, I thought she was just this thriving juice making
Yeah.
business. And she started all of a sudden just like breaking down and be like, I am so tired. She's like, I'm working so hard. And I feel like it hit her that she's like,
Yep.
this really, like, there has to be an answer. And you're showing me that there is some kind of answer. I just didn't realize it. I've heard about this thing, but I
Yep.
just don't know about it. And I didn't know that, like, what goes on with money. Nobody knows what the government is doing with the money supply. No one understands that it's theft. So when you tell people this, you just think that they're happy doing their juicing business. She's a happy, but then all of a sudden she, like, kind of broke down to me. So I'm just like, they do say hairstylists are therapists sometimes too. So I feel like that's why
Yeah.
she was kind of like, I need help,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
No,
know?
I love that.
Yeah.
Did you have another example of it too? Oh no, that was it. You said the
That
one.
was
Yeah,
another
yeah,
one
yeah,
was the younger girl,
yeah,
but
yeah,
there's
yeah.
so many, I feel like all the time there's some people that hear and then they think, and then the ones that don't just get a huge, like, because the younger people, I'm like, okay, you can't afford a lot, but you don't need a lot. Just put whatever you literally can put in, even if it's $5 a week, just put whatever you
Yeah.
can and just don't think about it. I still try to tell them to do that if they really are interested. But if the people that aren't interested, or if they understand it, but they don't, they're not like asking me, like, okay, where do I buy it? They're not like, usually they're walking out the door like, give me the app, send me which one you use. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing it. But the ones that don't do it yet, I know that they come back around later, and then they just start asking me more about it, and then, um, and it's like, when they're ready, you just have to be ready to just be a supporter, or like to show them the way when they are ready to ask you more. It's because not everyone, like me, I wasn't ready for months after he was telling me about stuff. So
Yeah. I
it's like,
think that's a great point too. Is like not. I think you indirectly said the point I'm trying to make, but it's like not burning the bridge with some of these people. Like
mhm,
that's my only issue with the toxic Bitcoin maximalist
mhm,
energy is like you can yes, Bitcoin is going to win regardless, right? But
mhm,
like if you claim to care about people and if you claim to want the best for, the people that are closest to you, turning them off to Bitcoin by calling them stupid or you know what I mean, or
yeah,
being pompous about it, like it only hurts them, So if you care about people like that, I think it's super important to keep the door open and just have that mindset of like, hey, when they're ready, when they're ready, they'll get it.
I think the word toxic to me, when I think about it, it's like I consider myself a toxic Bitcoin maxi, but I think of it as in a different way. Like I don't really feel like it means the same thing to me. To me, it means like don't even attempt to scam me because I'm
Yeah.
not that type of person. So it's like stay away because that's how toxic I am. Like it's not gonna work. Like just stay back. It's like a like warning symbol. Like you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like I'm
Yeah.
toxic, so don't come close.
I agree. That was kind of the other point I was going to make is like when I think of toxic Bitcoin maximalist, because I would consider myself in that camp.
Hmm.
It's like it's more so defensive of like, hey,
Hmm.
if you try to fuck with anything with the Bitcoin network or scam
Hmm.
people, like, yeah, I'm gonna jump
Hmm.
down your throat, and there's going to be an issue. Um, I
It's
think that,
like how the Bitcoin network, if an attacker tries to come in and attack Bitcoin, all the nodes are there to
yeah,
verify it.
exactly.
So it's like we're all there to help, like with the army and with the whole like all our groups together on X. It's like if somebody tries to, even if X tries to attack us by suspending, look how like we all band together to like protect each other and say like,
Yep.
hey, this is wrong. So we're all just there for each other and we're protecting. So it's like you're toxic in a supportive way, even. So it's
Yep.
just kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's toxic in the direction that it needs to be toxic in. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So people don't even think about, trying it again.
Hmm.
When they mean ill will against either the network or plebs that, they're trying to
Hmm.
scam. But I'm a very much supportive toxic Bitcoin maximalist, if
Hmm.
that's if that's what we can call
Yeah.
it, with
We're
like with people that don't necessarily get it. I'm actually super excited. So I'm having my like best friend in the world is going to come on the podcast in a few weeks, and we're going to do an episode. He knows nothing about Bitcoin.
Oh,
We're
nice. That's
we're going to
awesome.
do an episode of him asking all of like the normie questions and like running through it.
That's
Um,
amazing. That's like my favorite thing ever.
so we're gonna. I'm very excited for that episode. He's like, dude, I wanna. So he's a big stoner. He's like, I want to get stoned. I want to come with like a list of questions, and I want you to explain Bitcoin for whatever an hour, hour and a half from every angle that I ask it.
So I feel like you doing this is the coolest thing ever because I know it won't be a live episode, but I always had this like dream of like live orange pilling people, like just being like, hey,
Yep,
just show me, like ask me so that whatever questions you have, then other people who have the same questions can watch this
yep.
episode later. But my friend, my husband was hanging out with our friend the other day and he was actually telling him to be on my podcast because he's like just like your friend. Like he is like he's a stoner, but he's got also his own like seed shop like in Illinois. Like
Yeah.
he's a really big uh person in the business. He's like been in it for years. So he is like conspiracy guy,
Mm-hmm.
crossbreeding plants type of guy. Like he's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
like
yeah.
really smart, but he's very very knows a lot about a lot of things like stones and energies and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he would be such a fascinating person, but I'm like, how long of an episode would this be? Because I want to talk to him about all this stuff, but I also want him to say, hey, I don't know Bitcoin, like explain it to me, like, or I'll
Yep.
ask questions. So that is amazing. I can't
So
wait to.
I'm excited for that. I gotta put that together. But that's like, I think that's gonna be a cool episode for
Mhm.
people to see, like a live
Yeah.
orange pilling. You know what I
Right.
mean?
And then it's great because you could take clips of that, or you could just have it out there saying, if you like for new people, like watch this because this is somebody who has a lot of the same questions you would,
Yep.
and this might answer a lot of your questions. So that could be a really like everyone has that moment where it clicks for them from a like in a different way, and that could be the best way to show people, that
Yep.
don't understand.
Exactly. My only thing is like from a personal perspective, it's been a while since I've brushed up on like the network and the nodes and the miners. So I'm like,
But
uh,
guess what? This is what's great about that though, because the way that I talk to people who know nothing about technology, know nothing about,
yeah,
finance, they don't know any of this stuff. They're not studying it. So when you're telling a person who has no sort of background in this, you need to have that perspective where you're
yep,
not brushed up on it. So you could explain it in your own way. That's like something that they will understand.
yep, yeah.
So it's
Oh
not
yeah, I'm
peanut butter.
gonna. He's a big like, he's a big like Star Wars guy. I got all kinds of Star Wars. I
Really?
related Bitcoin to Star Wars
Was
the
that
other.
you? There was a metaphors that you were doing. Was that you that posted? There were some metaphors I saw.
No, no, it
No,
wasn't.
okay, because I
It
saw
wasn't me.
somebody. Okay.
But yeah, the simplest way that I figured to explain. Are you a Star Wars person or no?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So the simplest way that I can think to explain the defense of Bitcoin is that it's like the Death Star, but without the tiny red button, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody's got the plans to it because it's
Mm,
decentralized, and they still
yeah.
can't take it down. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's the best way that I think that I could explain it.
And
So
that might orange pill somebody right there. Somebody was a Star Wars fan. It's like,
yeah, they're
oh,
like,
okay,
oh
that's
shit,
it.
I get it. Like
Yeah.
nobody can take it down.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got the plans. Everybody knows the
Mm-hmm.
schedule of all of it. So let me see here. I'm living on 19%
It's okay.
on 19% laptop battery. So hold on, I'm gonna grab my charger real quick and then
Yeah.
we'll pick this back up.
Okay, sounds good. Because
Sometimes.
that like scares me that when I do recordings that it's just gonna like erase everything or something. I'm like, oh no, what is that?
No, I yeah, it does trip up
Yeah.
sometimes. What's up, guys? We're back. Computer's charged
Hmm.
now. We were having a little discussion about about Riverside, the software we use. So you guys are gonna catch that too, because I don't edit anything on here. It's a
Oh,
live. It's a fully live
perfect.
show. But so yes, where were we at? Okay. The yeah, the whole orange pilling a
Hmm.
friend on an episode. So let's so the one thing that I like about your podcast that I wanted to talk about is you seem to have people on from different points of
Hmm.
view, different perspectives on Bitcoin. It's something I've tried to emulate here, as well. Why do you think that's so important?
I think it's really important because it's fun for me, first of all. Like I enjoy I think it's like a great time. I'm like, wow. Not only is it like people that I feel like I'm like, wow, I've known this person. It's crazy and it's like amazing for me to be able to get to talk to some people, some of these people, but hearing from all different people is just a lot of fun. Like I really enjoy it. So I think if I am having a good time, then other people will have a good time. So it's just like as
Yep.
long as you're genuine and you're enjoying it, it seems like people love real stuff. Like they love just like how you are. You're not going to edit this out. So it's like people like the
Yeah.
reality of things and they could sense people that are being real. So it's just like if you enjoy something, then it kind of like exudes like you share that with other people, like they feel it too. So just like Olu, I don't know if you have him scheduled to be on your show from Nigeria.
Nigerian
Yeah.
Bitcoiner,
But
right?
his energy is like
Yep.
so infectious. So it's like people like that. Like but there's just been, I can't tell you, like this is my favorite show I've been on. You know, every show I've done up until now has been my favorite day ever. Like every single time is great. You know, so I think that it's
Yep.
nice to have not just have fun with it, but just have, for me, it's like, okay, this is a really cool point. My son is 13 years old and he is, you know, very, he's a smart kid. He's very intuitive, but he doesn't care about Bitcoin because he hears his mom talk about it for years. Like, I don't like talk his ear off about it, but one
Yep.
day he told me, hey, mom, what is Bitcoin mining? And, I went on for like 20 minutes about it. Like, he was like, mom, I wasn't listening
Yeah.
after like
Yeah.
the first 5 minutes. He goes, I'm so sorry. He's like, I wanted to not be rude. He's like, but you lost me like a long time ago. I got
Yeah.
uninterested, and he was just so being truthful about it. I'm like, thank you for telling me. I will try next time to keep it short and simple because I know that you're a
Yeah.
13-year-old and you're not. Oh my gosh, there's like a bug over here. Oh, so that's gonna be live. I hate bugs. Like one of those crazy ladybugs. I've never seen one over here. This is nuts.
Yeah.
Oh,
You good?
yeah. I'm gonna just continue.
That's the Hodl My Beer difference right there, everybody. It's always we don't fuck around with takes. All right, we're
You're
doing
gonna
it. We're
see
doing
my
it live.
fear face. It's gonna become like a
Yeah, they
meme.
are. They are. I promise I won't use that for the
If
image
you
of
do, I won't be
the.
mad. I don't care. But it's gonna cover my camera in a second. That's funny. So what was I saying? So my son is 13 years old, and he doesn't. He's like, Mom, you lost me. So when he heard that I was doing this YouTube channel, he heard one of the highlights I made. I made the first highlight I made with the Nigerian Bitcoiner, and it was like the highlight I made. He lost his power during, so I made a little clip about that, and he loved it so
Yeah.
much, and he thought like I saw him favorite it, like he put in his favorites on TikTok, and then I heard him in the other room listening to the entire podcast because he's like, I really like the guy, I just wanted to hear
Yeah.
him talk. So I'm like, look at how like somebody like him, who's so different, such a different perspective. But my 13-year-old son loves that guy. Like he was like, he is so cool. He's like, I would like to talk to him.
Yep.
So he listened to like an hour and a half long episode or something of him. And it's like, even though he just liked what he had to say and hearing about his perspective, it's like he's learning about Bitcoin in the process, whether he realizes it or not. And he's understanding why it's important for the
Yep.
rest of the world. So it's like you hit people, like even though I am a supernova, brain, like eye-opening experience for people sometimes, not to my 13-year-old, but that guy was. So that's
Yep.
amazing.
I
Mhm.
love that. I love that. I was gonna say the same thing. It is very
Mhm.
fun learning
Yeah.
about it. Because I feel like I learn stuff. When I bring certain people on. Um, but I think it does have so many use
Mhm.
cases. And like that's why Bitcoin is winning to the scale that it
Mhm.
is winning at. Is that it affects so many people positively in so many different ways. It's just it's incredible. Do you have the
Yeah,
bug going on over
it's
there
just
still?
like crawling right across my screen.
do we can take a minute. You want to get them,
I'm
or are
not gonna
you
do it.
good?
No, it's just gonna stay there. I'm just gonna.
All
I'm sorry.
right.
I'm like just like feeling my eyes are looking up at it.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm not gonna call it out. I'm not gonna call it out
Okay.
again. Um, so I think that's a perfect segue. We'll plug obviously a link to your
Thank you.
show and your Twitter after this, because I think you are doing great work over there.
Well, I
And the last,
I
what'd
can't
you
wait
say?
to share, your channel once you get a YouTube one up. But like, even do you do any other before you wrap it up? Do you do any other, platforms? Because somebody mentioned Fountain to me today, and I want to put it on Fountain. I don't know if you do that too. But I did find
I
out that with
Yeah.
Spotify, when you do upload to Spotify, you can get a link and it automatically uploads to Amazon and Apple. So I don't know
Hmm.
how it
I
is.
don't know. I have my buddy works on he does like
Hmm.
music marketing because he's a
Hmm.
musician. And like they're rolling out a podcast
Hmm.
marketing. So they're going to be the ones kind of
Oh,
handling
nice.
all that tech stuff. The answer is I don't know. I think I am on
Oh,
Fountain
okay.
though because I checked the downloads and it was on
Oh, cool.
Fountain too. I was wondering what the hell that
Yeah.
was. I guess apparently it's a
It's like
thing.
something
I
where
do
you
want to
get
talk
you
about.
collect sats for listening to podcasts on Fountain, I think.
Hmm. Okay.
So it's worth looking into because I used it a while ago, but I just forgot about it. Put someone on.
Yeah, I guess I am linked to it automatically then because I've had
Okay.
whatever a certain amount of
Hmm.
downloads on there. I do want to talk about the kind of like the macro Bitcoin
Hmm.
environment. I think as we're recording this, it's at 83,000. There's been all of this good news. I have a few opinions on the quote unquote 4 year
Hmm.
cycles. That I'll obviously share. But like any thoughts on that aspect of like I know we're not paying attention too much to price,
Yeah.
but maybe talking some newbies off the
Yeah.
cliff
So
here.
I think that anyone who's new to it, I think that the more you understand Bitcoin, you have less fear about it, but it's that, you can't be afraid when price dips when you have the level of national and institutional adoption happening right now. You have governments holding Bitcoin as their treasury reserve asset. You have, corporations and everybody putting it on their like balance sheet, like a GameStop with $4.5 billion or something like that they have in cash reserves. They're starting to buy Bitcoin with it and do what MicroStrategy did. So there is such a high level of demand combined with a very high, very increasing exponentially level of decrease in supply when it comes to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is just, dwindling down as far as how much is going to be left. Like it's getting very, very,
Yep.
very slim and like exponentially slimmer over the next, till the year 2140 when the last Bitcoin will be available. So we're at 98% of the supply released. So when you combine that with only 2% left till the year 2140, and such a high level of adoption. Like these little price swings mean nothing. Like, so don't be scared. Just dollar cost average and keep collecting, because I feel like whatever's going on now, it's like, oh, if you look, if you don't yet have patience, because Bitcoin teaches you patience, I feel like you will
Yep.
be terrified in the short term, but you just have to have more patience and just look at it in a bigger picture.
Yeah, I agree. And I think now there's a little bit of fear because the like the 4 year cycle, all the other 4 year cycles, like by this point, there had been some sort of like massive
Hmm.
move. And we're just not seeing that. And I think from what I've gathered, the M2, like the M2 global liquidity is going to be the biggest driver of Bitcoin. It's no longer the 4 year cycle had merit before because it was smaller capital and the halving had more
Hmm.
impact because there wasn't enough people eating the supply,
Hmm.
right? It was like a niche corner of the
Hmm.
internet. And I still think that the halving is going to boost price, whatever it is, 6 months post halving. But when you look at the price boost this year, the halving cuts the supply obviously in half that gets mined. And what did we see? We saw the price double, right? So like those things are correlated, right? We see the halving, and then you see from whatever it was, 50 to 60K to 110. That's almost double. Like to me, that's not the bull market starting. That's just the halving doing its
Hmm.
job, right? Now you're seeing more money come into the system. And whenever Bitcoin, people think it's going to do something, it usually
Hmm.
doesn't do that. Before 3, 6 months ago, you had people piling in because they were like, "Hey, the bull market's going to start." What happened? Right, price has been choppy for pretty much the entire time.
It weeds out the impatient people that are just there for.
It does, yeah. You had all the people who didn't do their homework that are just, hearing, hey, we're going to have a bull market because the halving happened at this time and Bitcoin's doing the
Hmm.
opposite. So I think that's going to continue in both ways, right? I think once the sentiment is awful
Hmm.
everywhere and everyone's like, hey, bull market's
Hmm.
dead, it's going to blow up. And then at the end of it, right, you're going to have the same people that are like, hey, bull market's over, we're going to sell, and I just don't. I think that Bitcoin's going to continue to
Yeah.
run up. I think that the full there's always going to be some impact of a 4 year cycle because of the halvings on a 4 year schedule, but I just don't know how that you know
Well,
is going to impact institutional
I just
capital.
think that just like how you said, like Bitcoin does what you least expect. I think the reason it does that is because it's so tied to human emotion. The markets are tied to human emotion and what's going on in the world. But then when you have an asset that has a scarcity like Bitcoin does, that has all this access to, global capital being in stock markets and things like that, it's like you're trying to control a natural, like a hurricane or a tornado, like people trying to think like
Yep.
we're going to steer this thing and we're going to do whatever. Yeah, you could try until it's like it's too much force or too much power behind this natural occurring phenomenon of a thing, because Bitcoin is bigger than people understand. Like people think that, we're going to try to manipulate, but there's going to be a catalyst, there's going to be something, and you can't suppress this thing. It's like trying to hold water like out of a, bursting pipe.
Yep.
Like you can't, like how long can you do that for? So it's just like I think that people just think too much that they could play man-made games with something that is beyond, control of like any corporation. Like we're used to everything in the world right now being controlled by a group of people in charge, or control most of the supply of
Yep.
something or another, so you have so much, like, this is literally so decentralized that there isn't one person that's like manipulating how it's going to go. So it's just something we haven't seen before. So I think it's just people are trying to play human games with something that is totally not the normal way that humans do things, because of the way that it's been distributed over time. It's something else and it's scarce, and it's gonna, I really feel like I'm a believer, and it's gonna destroy all models just because everyone thinks it's gonna do
Yep.
a thing that it always did. It's going to kind of like do that for a while until it doesn't. And then I think, again, it's because, like you said, you had so much, with the halvings, you had all this like large amount of coins coming out at the beginning, and then it just feels like there isn't enough, like let's say buying pressure, because it was a small corner of the internet. So,
Yep.
but with this increasing amount of demand and the halving still continuing. So it's again still decreasing that quickly in supply that's available, and all this demand. It's like that is not they're going to eat up all these coins so quick that yeah, how much longer can you keep trying to suppress this force? You know?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think there is a little bit of, um, look, naturally, when there are intermediaries, there's going to be some form of market manipulation. I don't think that by any means we should be at like 120 and we're being suppressed to 80 right now or anything like that. But, this is again why cold storage is so important and taking control of your keys is so important because, the only person in this space right now that's proving they have the reserves for their Bitcoin is River. And I hope more companies come out and do that so that we can know that no price suppression is taking place. But like, I would be shocked, and I don't mind saying this, on the podcast, I would be shocked if Coinbase has enough reserves to cover their Bitcoin that's being bought on their platform.
Yeah.
I just would. I think they have too much shitcoinery going on,
Yeah.
that they're probably having to, they probably, if everybody tried to cash their Bitcoin out of Coinbase right now, I don't know if they would be solvent,
Right.
But that's the issue with the intermediaries. And I don't think it's happening on a grand scale, like, like something like gold, because Bitcoin's more liquid. So you have to have more there, because people can pull it out at any time. Unlike gold or any other, I've seen stories of stocks even being manipulated where people can trade stocks, and then if everybody were to withdraw them, there wouldn't be enough stocks to go around because it's the same fractional reserve banking model. So I do worry about that happening with Bitcoin a little bit, but my hope is that Bitcoin doesn't get papered over because people are taking self-custody, or at the very, very, very least, if you're not taking self-custody, holding with an intermediary that shows proof of reserves so that that they're not,
I think the papering over of Bitcoin, would be, in my eyes, it would be more like the people who, like, let's say all this like old money, people that have the baby boomer age people that like would never just buy Bitcoin. It's like that is a way to get all that money into Bitcoin without making the price skyrocket. So they could be like, hey, own our stock. That's like just like a tactic to
Yep.
get a lot of that money into Bitcoin so that the company or the corporation that's buying the Bitcoin on their behalf is able to use that old money to just stack more more Bitcoin for their own company,
Yep.
and then just kind of feel like they're just giving the people that don't know any better that we're just giving you a stock, just like with gold, like people own gold stock, and it's like again we haven't had proof that the gold is in Fort Knox, so we don't know 100% how much gold we have. It hasn't been audited, so you don't really know what you're buying. You're buying stock.
Well, you don't even know the real price
Yeah.
of it, right? Because like if there's if there's fractional reserve gold trading going on, like that's my issue with the gold bugs is not it's not the that I don't think they're
Yeah.
right. I think a lot of the gold bugs are 99% aligned with most
Mhm.
Bitcoiners as far as like don't trust your government, fractional reserve banking needs to die, and the Fed. You know what I mean? Like I think people are aligned there. My issue is like even after I got to Bitcoin, there was a part of me that was like, why don't I hedge a little bit with
Mhm.
gold, right? Like why not go 90% Bitcoin, 10% gold? That was an honest conversation that I had with myself. And I was just like, how would I fucking audit
Right.
it? Like how would I know it's
Yeah,
my
you don't
gold?
actually have it.
Like you don't
Plus, I've
know.
seen videos on the internet. I don't know if they're true, but like when you see people that buy a bar of gold, unless you have the guts to go and cut that bar of gold in half and just want to see what's in the middle, it's like, is it actually gold all the way through?
Yeah.
How do you know? Have you checked? Like, you know what I mean? I just feel like even if you were to buy it
Yeah.
yourself, but yeah, you're not like you're not checking. Even if they go into Fort Knox, is someone to go sawing some of those bars in half randomly to see if they're all filled all the way through?
Yeah, I think
No.
they check it by weight is how
Okay.
they do it. Like it's got like a perfect weight
Hmm.
to it for a gold bar, and like I know it for a fact it's very expensive to audit
Hmm.
gold, which is why they don't do it. Um, but you're exactly
Hmm.
right. It's like that's the Bitcoin use
Hmm.
case right there. Is like if you're comparing those two,
Right. And if you're gonna try
I
to
just want
send,
something that I
yeah,
can
if you're gonna
hold.
try to send gold from one place to the other. Let's say if you just even old gold stock and you were saying, you know what, I want to move, I want to retire, I want to go move in some tropical place and just live out my life there. Now I'm gonna have to try to sell my gold stock, give 40% of it in tax to the government, and then just go live my life. But it's like if you wanted to like leave the country, you can't just take your gold stock with you, or you can't just bring bars of gold to wherever you
Yeah.
live. So Bitcoin is the better money, and that's why it reminds me of Sailor, like when he said, you only need one tool for the job. So it's like if you have the best tool for money, why are you going to use a different money? And that's why we, so
Yep.
I feel like there's certain things like Sailor's such a good one-liner kind of person. Like he just like he makes really good
Yep.
points, and it just makes people think like, yeah, why are you diversifying? Um, with
Yep.
Bitcoin.
No, he's the best with it. And the other thing that I would say, to bring it back to bring the reserve and tie it in with Sailor, like I would love to see MicroStrategy or Strategy show proof of
Hmm.
reserves. You know what I mean? Like I just
Right.
think that there's all of these companies, like there's no reason
Yeah.
not to figure it out.
Hmm.
And again, that's not like shitting on Sailor or like I've gone on record. I use Strike for all of my
Hmm.
Bitcoin stuff. I love
Yeah,
Jack
me too. I
Mallers.
do
He's
too.
what got me. He got me into. He was the one, like I got into it through
Hmm.
friends, but like Jack was the first one that I like
Hmm.
was glued to. Like everything that he said, every
Me too.
keynote he did. Like I was, he's my age, and I love the
Hmm.
guy, right? I would like to see Strike implement proof of reserves. I don't know why they haven't done it yet. I don't doubt that they have enough
Like who
Bitcoin to
actually
cover all
has
their
proof of
reserve.
reserves right now? Do you know? Because I know that some, River
River,
does. Okay.
River is and I actually haven't bought anything on River
Hmm.
yet. I'm gonna start to diversify a little bit between Strike and
Hmm.
River, but River was the one that changed the
Hmm.
game. With the proof of Bitcoin reserves. El Salvador, I know they post that they bought they bought their own
Hmm.
stuff too, and they're buying daily, but like proof
Yeah.
of reserves. I think like transparency needs to be a huge focal
Yeah.
point, to show that Bitcoin's not being papered
Hmm.
over, and that price isn't being suppressed or isn't being manipulated. And again, I don't think there's a huge amount of that going on right now, but I wouldn't be
Hmm.
surprised, if you have banks developing financial products, you have BlackRock, who is the biggest biggest money manager in the world. Um, with they have enough capital to actually move a market. I wouldn't be surprised if they were like holding price down until banks in the U.S.
Well,
get
that's why
ready,
it's more
to
important
buy.
now that you bring that up. It's more important, even so, for more regular people, for Bitcoin to become even more decentralized, for everyone to pretty much go out and buy $100 and everybody have a little bit. Because if these companies are doing this, then they're using again a lot of this old money that would never have gone into Bitcoin, buying it for themselves, suppressing the price by selling people more shares of it. And then it's like they're getting all this money to pretty much they're just kind of like borrowing everyone's money that would never have bought it and they're buying it for themselves. So it's like, but then they're
Yeah,
just pretending like, that other people actually own a big stake of it where they just have that paper version. But that's why it's more important for as these companies are collecting as much as they are, it's like it needs to be where people understand what's happening and that it becomes something that everyone has a little bit of so they could all have that decentralization. So it's not just these big corporations and like 1 or 3% of the
yep,
rest of us that have it and that's it. So it's like more people should know about
yeah,
it and they should get a little that it would I hate to say like screw them over because then everyone's going to go out and buy some so it'll kind of like
yeah,
mess up their game. It's like stop trying to let these guys win.
exactly. Yep. No, I agree. Well, that was
Hmm.
awesome, Stacy. I don't have
Well,
much else. Why don't you
I want to say one
tell?
last thing about being paranoid because
Yes,
somebody
go ahead.
commented saying that it was I more or less paranoid after.
That's right. That was the one question we got. Are you more or less paranoid after being into
Yes,
Bitcoin?
so I had an answer for that. So I think getting into crypto, when I first started crypto, I was more paranoid because I was like, what is going on? Like I was very, very paranoid about everything, not sure if it was real.
Yep.
And then very much after becoming a maxi, much less paranoid. Like I feel like I just have that I don't give a crap attitude about like I just like toxic
Yeah.
kind of attitude like we said. But yeah, like definitely less paranoid, but more just like toxic, I guess, but I'm still paranoid
Yeah.
about like this kind of stuff, like what's going on with papering over Bitcoin. And like I still have like these like questions, but I'm not paranoid about like what's better, what's the better crypto. I already know Bitcoin won,
Yeah.
so it's like that's not where I'm at. It's just what kind of schemery are people trying to do? And I don't think it will ever, none of it will affect Bitcoin, but there's just like really funny to see the what kind of games people are trying to play. And I just like to like just be paranoid about like exposing their shenanigans to people. So that's kind of what it is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think no, that's a great point. I think paranoid has a bad, like a negative connotation to it too, and the way that I view paranoid is like the whole Bitcoin community is paranoid, but in like the best way
Mm-hmm.
possible. It's the whole don't trust,
Yeah.
verify. Like that's paranoid, right? And you should be, because the reason we're in such a fucked up, system is because not enough people were paranoid for long
Right.
enough.
And that's why
So
people
I
people look
think
at us like we're paranoid, but really like we're just seeing the truth and they're just not paranoid enough. So
yeah,
mhm.
yep. Well, the good news is, I know this term is being thrown around a lot, but like the Overton window has shifted. Like this is a much more acceptable way to be
Mhm.
now, which is good because maybe we'll get some of the people into our camp of look. I just want the obviously being like living in the U.S. I like that they're doing the strategic reserve. I like what Doge is doing, cutting the fraud, waste, and abuse from the government. My hope is that enough people will want the government to be open and transparent about what they're doing. And I think that's very much a Bitcoin. I think that's very much a signal of Bitcoin eating into the traditional politics that we've seen. Is like you have a huge block of voters that turned out for Trump. Essentially, you can make the argument that they swung the election in his favor. Now that group of millions of Americans is demanding like, yo, check out our protocol called Bitcoin. Everybody can fucking see what happens. We want you guys to do the same thing in the government. And that's my hope, is that that continues to spread, not through the US, but like the rest of the world, because I think everybody is, so much better off if that happens. So anything else that I
Yeah, I
missed,
think
Stacy? You want to tell people where to find
yeah.
you? I'll link it in the show
Yes,
notes.
I love what you're doing with your show and thank you for having me on and keep going. You're doing so great. I love the natural flow of this. I
Thanks.
love that you have just this real, real conversation, a real no editing, just like whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. Everybody's gonna hear the bug. Once it's on YouTube, they'll see the reaction
That's
to it.
amazing.
But no, I
Yeah.
appreciate that
So
very
yeah, just
much.
find
Go
me on
ahead.
YouTube. I'll be just look up the Bitcoin Nova. That's my channel, and then on X, I'm X Stacy with a number one at the end instead of an I. Yeah.
Number one. So it's XSTAC1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Got it. Cool. I'll put it in the show notes for
Okay.
everybody. Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
for tuning in. Thank you,
Yeah.
Stacy.
So nice
Much
talking to
appreciated.
you.
See ya.
Take care.